Hey everybody, I am John BenderWaffles Aljets, and today we're doing a speed development commentary where I'm taking a look at a path through a canyon. The first map that I ever made using Smile Game Builder. Okay, not the first map ever, but the first map that I did a speed development of and posted to the channel. You know what I mean. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let's dive right into this. Yeah, just get right to it. So I wanted to work with Smile Game Builder because I do most of my maps in RPG Maker, as most of you are probably aware. However, I want to try to branch out. I want to try to do new things. And I did do an episode where I took a look at Doom mapping, so I have a little bit of experience with 3D, and I've done it in the past, obviously. But I wanted to do something where, you know, I'm kind of using effectively the same sort of tool set as RPG Maker, but work with an extra dimension. So Smile Game Builder is a good one for that. As I said, the map maker kind of works roughly the same. It's all tile based and everything of that nature. So I'm doing this as a canyon because mainly I wanted to have my map be first person, but I didn't want the player to just like look and see skybox once the boundary of the map was done. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to build up some walls. It'll give it a cool look, and also it'll, you know, kind of hide the seam of the map ending. And so that's what we got. Going through here, you know, I decided a canyon needs a river, so let's add that in. It's a nice little bit of elevation change, and it's just a nice little detail. So I added that in, and as I said, you kind of go up onto a raised section, and then you know, you cross the bridge. You've got, you know, you come up here, you cross the bridge and everything like that. It's just a little bit more visually interesting, but I still did want the player to be able to get to the water, get down by the river. So if you notice, there are some spots where they can actually get to the river itself, get to the river's edge. I then wanted to have them kind of go up in elevation again, just because walking around on one flat surface, it's not very realistic and it's not very interesting. And if this is going to be like a canyon-esque area, you know, I figure it's, you know, good to do. And then we come upon everyone's favorite thing when it comes to my mapping, and that is just my penchant for putting trees pretty much everywhere. In this case, I'm working within the default stuff that came with Smile Game Builder. So I'm pretty limited as far as objects to put on the map. So trees are a good thing to use to not only fill in space, but also make it a little bit more visually appealing. And I do, as you're watching through this, you'll notice that I do vary up the trees that I use. There's a couple of different types of trees that are in there. And I also will throw in the occasional, you know, stump where it looks like they might have broken off. I also use trees as barriers to sort of drive player movement, because one of the things when it comes to map creation that you need to be thinking about is not only what does the map look like and is it visually appealing, but also how can you get the player to go where it is that you want them to go. And it could be something as simple as just, you know, you've got a pretty set outline, or, you know, having objects that draw the player's eye. Any of those sort of things are important. I don't really play so much with the second one. I kind of just keep it to the basic paths when doing this. But when we get to the part where we're watching the playthrough of the map, I will point out one situation where I kind of encouraged player exploration a little bit. Going through here, just placing down one type of tree at a time. I'm kind of placing down just like the basic pine tree. And then I go through and I'm like, okay, I'm going to break it up, throw in some rocks. And then in a little bit here, I do go through and I add in the sort of maple tree type tree, just to, again, get some variation, break it up a little bit, and just to really sell that very wooded look. I decided that having one big open area just wasn't interesting, so I kind of added in these two little things here. Again, it breaks it up and it makes it a little bit more visually appealing, and also it slows down the player movement. Because one thing to note when you have an area that isn't actually that big, but you want your players to spend at least a considerable amount of time there, is throwing in stuff that's going to slow them down. Now, this might seem like sort of an arbitrary or artificial lengthening of your game time, and it is, but you know, when you're working with an RPG, pay attention to the RPGs that you love, and you'll notice that a lot of the maps are actually relatively small. You know, there might only be like one small little path for you to walk on. something like Final Fantasy VII or, those games, a lot of their maps are super small, but they're part of a larger area. And to me, this canyon area would have probably been part of a larger area if I was turning this into a full game. So throwing things in the player's way to sort of slow down their progress through an area is fine. Not something that you should rely on too heavy, but every once in a while, throw it in there. Just, make it kind of interesting. So going through here, you saw that I placed a house. Now the house is, when I talk about like drawing the player's eye to something that might be a little bit out of the way, encouraging exploration, the house was placed with that in mind. So placing down trees again, creating pathways here. I placed down the house in such a way so that when you're on one of the raised elevations, if you're looking out in a certain direction, you'll see the house. And so the player will be aware that there's a house over here. When they're standing like here, they could see it peeking out across the treetops. So while normally when they're going through this map, they come down, they go across the bridge, they go around the trees, and then they'll go out through this stairway here at the bottom of the map, they might have, seen this house and go, oh, well, I know there's a house over there. Maybe there's something of interest there. Maybe there's some loot. Maybe there's somebody to talk to. And so they will delay exiting the map and actually go over to the house. So let's get into the actual gameplay segment here. One thing about Smile Game Builder, I don't like the default trees. I think they are just way too small. They almost look like comically small. And I understand that it works a little bit better when it's not first person, when it's a third person perspective. Third person isometric is the other option that you have within Smile Game Builder. But in first person, when you get really close to trees, they just look tiny. They do not look like full-size pine trees, which is kind of what I was hoping for. Again, I really love that bridge. I am super happy with the way that the bridge over the water looked. If you'll notice here in a second, when I get up to the river, I kind of pause for a moment. And the reason why I pause is because I knew, oh, this is where I'm going to take the screenshot for the thumbnail. Right there. I'm just looking off randomly into a direction. That's why. So yeah, you can see the house as you're walking through, and if you're a player and not me who designed the map, you'll probably see the house and go, oh, there's something over there. I'm going to go investigate it. So normally you'd leave out through those stairs, but no, you come over here. And the sort of headcanon that I came up with was that this was somebody lived here who, they live in the woods. They're sort of a little bit of a hermit. So maybe they're the one who's chopping down all the trees, because you do see stumps every once in a while. So that's kind of the headcanon that I built a little bit. It's not super important, but it is what it is. And then, yeah, we just go out and we exit the map, and that's the end of the video. So a couple of thoughts. Smile Game Builder is something that I think I'm probably going to experiment with a little bit more. I don't have the biggest handle on it. I know that a lot of people say, oh, it's just 3D RPG Maker, and it's not. It does things differently. Does a lot of things similarly, but it does work differently enough that I'm gonna, not feel like I'm just doing the same things that I've always done if I choose to use it. I might play with it some more, might learn it some more. In which case, if I do, maybe there will be a tutorial in the future. I don't know. But either way, I like Smile Game Builder. You guys seem to like it based off the comments, so there will be more in the future. But if you like this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Not a ton of you who watch my videos are actually subscribed. I think it was something like 12% of people who watch my videos are subscribed, which that is abysmally low. Let's try to fix that. So subscribe, like, and I will catch you in the next one.